Now this is the Sync4 media screen that's going to be standard inside of the F150 Lightning. Now it's the same Sync4 screen that we're going to be able to find if we're inside of the regular F150. There are a few small differences though, and the big ones are going to be as we get into our settings and features. But if you want a full walkthrough on how to use all of these different buttons and things like that, check in the description below. But for the purposes of this video, we're just going to be focusing specifically on the different features that are going to be standard inside of the Lightning version of the Sync4 screen. So just some basic rundowns though. We've got AM, FM, Sirius XM. We can easily hook up either Android or iPhone devices. And it's wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. We've got factory navigation, which with up to 3 years of included connected services for things like traffic and weather alerts and things like that. Along the very bottom here, a series of different options for adding in our own favorite button. So let's say if we wanted to have a hot button press to get into driver assistance settings, tailgate, etc. We just select whatever one we want the hot button press for. So let's say if it's drive modes, and now it's a drive mode button. So if we click off, click on again, it brings us right into our drive modes. We push edit again, and that's going to give us the flexibility now to select something different. So if you wanted it to be audio sources, pro power on board, etc., you can have this dynamically update to be whatever you'd like it to be essentially. Like we've got some limits, but it is nice that we've got that available as an option. We've got our base app screen there, and then some settings. So a series of base settings like radio, so we can do things like increase our preset pages, sound settings for changing out our treble mid-range bass, things like that, and all of our base settings there. We've got a smarter Ford Assistant. Like I said, if you want to have more of a walk around on how to connect a phone, use navigation, or go through some of these basics, check in the description for that walkthrough. Jumping into our features, so the important part. Now the first thing I noticed about this screen is as we get into our drive modes. So we've got a series of different modes that are available with some great looking animations that are going to let us change between different modes as we go. So we've got our normal, sport mode, off-road, as well as our tow haul mode. And it's nice because we've got this little indicator bubble letting us know exactly which each mode does. But very straightforward. In a nutshell, normal for everyday driving. You want better performance into sport. You're going off-road, and then if you're towing a vehicle. So that's your basic breakdown there. We do have one pedal driving inside of this vehicle. So we turn on one pedal driving, and what that's going to do is rather than using the accelerator and the brake, we only have to worry about using the accelerator instead. So once we take our foot off the accelerator with one pedal driving on, regenerative braking like hardcore kicks in and it slows the vehicle down very rapidly. We've also got our locking differential, which we can toggle on off from the inside here on top of that. So really great option. I love, like I said, all of the different animations. It just makes it look so much meaner. I love the look of it. It's really nice. And it's going to update there as well as inside of our cluster screen, which is pretty nice. Now, as we go through some different options, so backing up and into some driver assistance, these are all going to be the same settings that we're going to find inside of the regular F150, but some big ones to point out there. We've got our blind spot system, so that's going to highlight on our side view mirrors, letting us know if anybody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. From there, we've got different options for access. So access, we can get into our frunk if we want to. We can unlock our charge cord. So if we're charging up, we can lock and unlock right from the inside. And then we can also toggle our charge port light on or off on top of that. We've got our Pro Power on board. So a few different options that are available there. So if we go to our little info bubble there, we can have up to 9.6 kilowatt hours. So we've either got a 2.4, 9.6, etc., just depending on how you have your vehicle configured. Do you have the standard range versus extended? Are you in the Pro or the XLT versus the Platinum? So that's going to dictate how much power you've got, but we can toggle the whole Pro Power onboard system on off. And then we can also toggle all the individual switches on or off for either the front or for the rear of the vehicle. And you can see there it kind of dynamically updates it for us with different settings available for each location. So our A versus B versus our front circuit. So we've got a max draw for each one. We can show a reserve on top of that. So if we want to reserve a number of kilometers, we can have it so that it maxes out there, and Pro Power is essentially going to turn off once we get to that limit instead. But it is nice. So we can manually set it if we want to. We can have it default or for the nearest charging station, which is kind of nice. Moving out from there, we've got our zone lighting. So zone lighting, we hit override, and all of a sudden we can toggle all of our lamps on for the outside of the vehicle. One of the big benefits there, we're working later on at night. We can toggle on front, back, etc., have all zones come on, or toggle back off again. So it's really straightforward. Different options for towing. We've got our trip energy, so we can see what's going on for trip 1 and 2 for this trip on top of that. So we can see how much climate we've used, the route percentages, and things like that. And you can see the power drawdown. So obviously it's going to be crazy big right now just because I'm stopped doing an explainer video, but it's going to update and be dynamic just based off of what we're doing with the vehicle. Departure and comfort also gives us quite a lot of flexibility. So one of the great things about departure and comfort is that we can set what we want the temperature to be certain days of the week. So you're plugged in, you can essentially precondition your cabin. So as an example, so let's say if you leave the same time Monday through Friday, and let's say if that time is 8 o'clock a.m., we want the vehicle to be nice and cool for us. And all we're gonna do, so we're just gonna select whatever we want to there, and it's gonna be at 8 o'clock a.m. We're gonna save. A few seconds in, 1, 2, 3, and all of a sudden we've got our departure time. So one of the great things there is that it's going to turn the vehicle on and essentially precondition the cabin for either hot, cold, etc., based off of whatever time you have there. You can set up multiple times, so if you're leaving from work, leaving from home, whatever the case may be. We can set up one for the weekend, for Saturday, Sunday. If you've kind of messed up, we can just go clear all. And a second there, it's going to bring us back to our default instead. And then we can set up each individual day if we want to, again with either that warm, medium, or cool, or we can not have the climate on whatsoever. So you've got quite a few different options that are available, and love how simple it is to be able to set these up as necessary. So again, as I mentioned, one of the big benefits here is that if you know you're leaving the same time every day, you've got the flexibility to have your departure come on. So rather than drawing through your power when you first go to drive away, it's going to essentially pull from the wall instead. So rather than using your battery on the fly, it's going to heat or cool the vehicle up automatically for you. Really, really useful feature. From there, we've also got charge settings. So as you can see there, we've got our current charge percentage. We've got our one-time max charge limit. So let's say if you're in a DC supercharging station and you want to power up to, I don't know, maybe only, perfect. I was like, can we do that? Yeah, so we can drag to like 79, 80%, whatever the case may be. It's going to be for that single time charge. We can set up different charging locations. So I haven't set up, well, this vehicle hasn't been charged anywhere, but as we charge different locations, we go to different spots, a home address, work address, whatever the case may be. One of the cool things, we can set the location to charge up to a certain time. So let's say if you only want to have this thing max out and charge at home maybe to 80%, you've got that flexibility. And then we can get back into our departure and comfort on top of that. So we can get to all of these different settings, different places, but I mean, at the same time, it still is really straightforward to be able to use all of these things. Next up, we've got our intelligent backup power. So adding in different stations, but as you can see there, we do need to have the Ford Charge Pro station at home in order to be able to do that. And we won't be able to add in a station, because we need to go through the app in order to be able to do it. But I love that Ford has introduced this so you can see exactly what's going on as you go. And it's not just for intelligent backup and other things. Like, let's go into features again for a second, because we go into towing. This is what I'm looking for, adding a trailer. So we can add in a trailer name, etc. But then as we go through the trailer screens, it tells you exactly what you need to do in order to be able to add a trailer into the vehicle. It's a very, very straightforward process, but it's really nice all at the same time. So amazing features available. As I mentioned, we've got different options for zone lighting. We've got our trip energy, departure, comfort. We've got a button that we can edit out to essentially be whatever we want it to be based off of these parameters. You want to adopt different things. So you want to have this go to your charge settings instead. We'd have that flexibility. So many different options that are available here. We've got our tray off to the right-hand side, which we can easily kind of move up and down by pushing this button there. Or we can push this one in order to be able to swipe up and down this way, and it just gives us some different graphics. And then as we get to any of these options, we can touch it, and it pushes out there, and we can kind of slide it across there instead. So that's the same in order to be able to jump to different things. You want to jump into your navigation instead, you want to jump into your radio, you want to swipe up and down to go to different things. You've got that flexibility. So it is nice that we've got that available as an option. And then, so I'm just popping the shifter up for a second here because I want to show you. We go into reverse now, and all of a sudden, we've got this nice, big, beautiful screen. Back into park again. we've got our button along the very top there. So we've got our full 360 camera. We can push this button to get into our front partial view, our front 180-degree view. We've got our bed camera. We can add in our own custom camera. We've also got our hitch view and then our backup camera. So tons of different options that are available. I love that we've got so much stuff that we can adjust from here. We can kind of zoom into different parts of the screen on top of that. So really straightforward, but I love what Ford's done with the Sync4 media screen inside of the vehicle. And again, giving us tons of different options and flexibility all at the same time.